Okay, you have to tell me if I'm losing my mind. Seriously. Because I'm sitting here, replaying the whole thing for like the 100th time, and I still don't see it. My entire family is looking at me like I'm some kind of monster. Like the actual devil. My phone has been dead silent for 2 days. And for what? For one comment. One tiny, little, off-the-cuff comment that wasn't even a big deal. It was supposed to be this whole celebration, you know? The big family dinner for Leo. My little brother, the golden boy, Saint Leo, who just got into some Ivy League place that I'm pretty sure is harder to get into than, like, heaven. And everyone was so happy, so ridiculously, sickeningly proud. I was too. I mean, I really was. But the whole thing just got suffocating. Mom was practically crying into the tiramisu. Dad was going on and on about legacy and potential. God, you know that feeling? So I said something, a joke, or, okay, maybe not a joke, but like a necessary reminder. A gentle reality check. Someone had to. I mean, it's my job as his big sister to keep his ego in check, right? To remind them that he's not some perfect little god they've cooked up in their heads. And now you'd think I'd burned the house down. The way they all just stared. They're acting like I ruined everything. But they're the ones who blew it all out of proportion, right? It was just words. A fact, actually. How can a simple fact cause all this? I don't get it. You get it, don't you? It's a massive, insane overreaction. It has to be. I mean, to really get it, you have to understand that it's always been like this. Always. My entire life has been lived in the shadow of the great Leo. It's not like I'm saying he's a bad person, but he was just one of those kids. You know the type. The one who could sneeze and a perfect science fair project would appear. He just breezed through everything, charming every teacher, making friends without even trying, while I was the one slogging through, making flashcards until 2 a.m., being the responsible one. I remember in middle school I got straight A's one semester, like perfect scores. I worked my ass off for that. I brought the report card home, so proud, and my mom glanced at it and said, "Oh, that's wonderful, Celeste. Can you set the table for dinner?" Just like that. An hour later, Leo comes home with his report card. He had a B+ in English, a B+. And my dad sat him down at the kitchen table for a full hour, talking about his struggle. How proud he was that Leo was overcoming his challenges, and how his real genius was in math anyway. They ordered a pizza to celebrate his hard work. Can you believe that? A pizza party for a B+. I got a chore, and it just never stopped. He'd win some debate club trophy, and it would be on the mantelpiece for months. I'd get an honorable mention in a statewide writing contest, and my certificate would get stuck on the fridge with a magnet, and then eventually buried under grocery lists and coupons. He was the public victory, I was the quiet, expected success. It wasn't jealousy. Honestly, it wasn't. It was frustrating. It was like watching someone play a video game with all the cheat codes turned on while you're stuck on the tutorial level. And watching my parents just buy into it completely. They built this whole myth around him, Leo the brilliant, Leo the effortless. And the more they built him up, the more invisible I felt. It was like my accomplishments didn't count unless they were louder and shinier than his, which they never were. So I took on this role, you know, the truth teller, the one person who saw through the act. I felt like it was my job, my duty as his big sister, to keep him grounded. To poke little holes in that perfect balloon they were all inflating around him. Because what happens when that balloon pops in the real world? It's dangerous to let someone believe they're infallible. I was doing it for his own good, you know. I was trying to protect him in a weird way. So when Dad raised that glass at dinner and said, "To our perfect son," it wasn't just about the university. It was about all of it. Every single report card, every forgotten achievement, every time I had to be the grown-up while he got to be the hero. It was like a movie I'd seen 1,000,000 times, and I couldn't sit through the same damn ending again. Someone had to remind them all that the hero of their story had a little bit of a dark side. It was only fair. So there we were, at this stuffy, Italian place downtown. You know the kind, where the waiters have better posture than you, and the menus are the size of a small child. It was Dad's choice, of course. Nothing but the best for the golden boy's big night. The air smelled like garlic and money. I'm pretty sure I saw him tip the valet $50. 50 for parking a car. The whole dinner was a performance. A Broadway-level production of The Perfect Family. Mom kept dabbing her eyes with a linen napkin, going on about how she always knew he was destined for greatness. Dad was holding court, telling anyone who would listen, the waiter, the busboy, probably the kitchen staff, that his son was going to change the world. And Leo, he was just sitting there, soaking it all in with this perfect, humble smile plastered on his face. He'd duck his head and be like, "Oh, Dad, stop." But you could see he loved every second of it. God, it was nauseating. I was just trying to survive. I was pushing a piece of overcooked calamari around my plate, nodding, smiling, playing my part as the supportive older sister. It's a role I've had a lot of practice with. I asked him about his dorm, about his classes, all the right questions. But honestly, I could have been a cardboard cutout and nobody would have noticed. The spotlight was so blindingly on him that the rest of us were just in the dark. I felt like a ghost at the table. Then came the toast. Of course, there had to be a toast. Dad stood up, clinking his fork against his crystal wine glass like he was in some bad movie, and the low hum of the restaurant around us seemed to fade away. He raised his glass. "To Leo," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Our son, who has never once disappointed us, who has worked so hard and proven that with integrity and brilliance, anything is possible. To our perfect, flawless son." Flawless, that was the word, the one that just broke something in me. It landed like a punch to the gut. My face felt hot. Flawless. I suddenly pictured him in sophomore year, white as a sheet, when his history teacher caught him with the answers written on his palm. I remembered Mom's screaming, Dad's quiet, intense disappointment. A memory they had all apparently decided to delete from the family archives. But I remembered. I was the one who had to tutor him for a month to get his grade back up. Me, the invisible one. It was like a switch flipped. All that frustration, all those years of being the reliable, invisible background character, it just came bubbling up. It was hot and fast, and I didn't even think. The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. I laughed. A bright, tinkling sound that cut right through the reverent silence. I leaned forward, putting my elbows on the table, making it feel intimate, like I was sharing a fun little secret. "Here, here," I said, raising my own glass. "He really is amazing. I mean, it just goes to show that little cheating thing back in sophomore year really didn't hold him back at all." I turned my gaze to my mother, my smile wide and unwavering. "Mom," I said, my voice dripping with faux admiration, "you remember how furious you were, right? It's amazing what a little determination can overcome." The silence that followed was total. It wasn't just a lack of sound. It was heavy. You could feel it pressing down on the table, sucking all the air out of the room. The clinking of silverware from other tables suddenly sounded like gunshots. My dad's hand, which had been raised for the toast, just froze midair. I saw Leo first. His smile didn't just disappear, it shattered. Like someone had thrown a rock through a window. One second it was there, bright and full of pride, and the next it was just gone, replaced by this look of complete and utter disbelief. His face went pale, like sheet white. He didn't look angry, not at first. He just looked wounded. Deeply, deeply wounded. He stared at me, his eyes wide, and I could see the question in them. Why? He didn't say a word. He just slowly, deliberately, placed his napkin on the table next to his plate. He pushed his chair back. The sound of the wood scraping against the tile floor was deafening, and he stood up. He looked at Mom and Dad, gave this tiny, almost imperceptible shake of his head, and then he turned and walked away. He didn't run. He just walked, straight out of the restaurant and into the night, without a single look back. That's when my parents' attention snapped to me. Mom's face had crumpled. Her eyes were filled with tears, her mouth slightly open in a silent gasp. She looked at the empty chair where Leo had been, then at me, and the look on her face was pure horror. But Dad was different. His face turned a dark, blotchy red. He lowered his arm, placing his wine glass on the table with a thud that made me jump. He leaned across the table, his voice low and trembling with a rage I had never, ever heard from him before. "Celeste," he hissed, and my name sounded like a curse. "What in God's name did you think you were doing?" And in that moment, for the first time, a cold knot of dread started to form in my stomach. I opened my mouth to say something, anything. To explain that it was just a joke, that he was being too sensitive, that they were all overreacting. But no words came out. I just stared at the fury in my father's eyes and the heartbreak on my mother's face, and at the empty chair across from me. The perfect family portrait was ruined, and I was the one holding the scissors. I suddenly felt very, very cold. I had wanted to poke a hole in the balloon, but it felt like I'd just detonated a bomb instead. The weeks after that dinner were a masterclass in the silent treatment. It wasn't loud. There was no screaming, no big dramatic confrontation after that initial explosion. It was worse. It was a quiet, systematic erasure. It was like I had been a ghost at that dinner, and in the days that followed, I became one in my own family. The first thing I noticed was the family group chat. It just went dead. Mom, who usually sent about 50 messages a day, pictures of her garden, bad jokes, reminders about birthdays, stopped posting completely. At first, I thought maybe everyone was just busy. But then my cousin posted a picture on Instagram. It was a selfie with Leo, both of them grinning. The caption said, "So proud of this guy, had the best time at the family barbecue celebrating him." A barbecue. There had been a barbecue. I scrolled through the pictures. My aunts, my uncles, everyone was there. Everyone but me. I tried calling Mom. She picked up on the fourth ring, her voice flat and tired. "Hello, Celeste." No honey, no warmth, just my name. It sounded like she was talking to a stranger, a telemarketer. I asked her about the barbecue. There was a long pause. "Oh," she said, her voice distant. "It was just a small, last-minute thing." A lie. A cold, obvious lie. The silence stretched between us, filled with everything she wasn't saying. I asked if I had done something wrong. Another pause. "You need to talk to your brother, Celeste. This is between you and him." Then she made an excuse about the laundry and hung up. It was the same with my dad. He'd answer my calls, but our conversations became brutally efficient. He'd talk about the weather, ask if my car needed an oil change, and then end the call. He was a master of saying nothing while technically speaking. He was building a wall, brick by polite brick, and I had no idea how to climb it. The real gut punch, though, came from Leo himself. I sent him a dozen texts. Apologies, explanations, excuses. It was a stupid joke. "I was just trying to be funny, I'm so sorry. Can we please just talk?" Every single one was met with silence. Delivered, but not read. He was actively ignoring me. Then, one night, I was scrolling through social media, torturing myself as usual, and I saw it. My mom had posted a photo album. Leo's big send-off party? The pictures were a kaleidoscope of everything I was missing. Leo, surrounded by friends and family, cutting a cake shaped like his new university's logo. My parents, standing on either side of him, beaming with a pride that felt like it was personally directed against me. And in one picture, I saw my dad hand Leo a card. I zoomed in. It was a plane ticket, a first-class plane ticket. I couldn't take it anymore. I called my mom, my hands shaking. This time, I didn't beat around the bush. I asked her why. Why was I being shut out like this? Her voice, for the first time, had a crack in it. It wasn't angry, it was just exhausted. "Celeste," she said, and it sounded like a sigh that had been held in for weeks. "Do you know what Leo asked me the night of that dinner? He came home and he asked me, 'Does Celeste hate me? Has she always hated me?'" She paused, and I could hear her take a shaky breath. "What were we supposed to say to that, Celeste? How are we supposed to answer our son when his own sister makes him feel that way?" And then she just hung up. That question, "Does Celeste hate me?" It just echoed in the silence of my apartment. It was worse than any accusation, worse than any punishment. It was a reflection of what I had done, in a voice I couldn't argue with. I thought time would fix it. You know that stupid cliché, time heals all wounds. I clung to that idea like a life raft. A few months passed. The silence from my family became a low hum in the background of my life instead of a screaming siren. I convinced myself that Thanksgiving would be the reset button. It had to be. It's Thanksgiving. The one day a year you're legally obligated to forgive your dysfunctional family, right? So I went home. I didn't even call first, I just showed up, armed with a ridiculously expensive pumpkin pie and a rehearsed smile. The moment I walked through the door, I knew it was a mistake. The air was thick with a polite, unbearable tension. My mom gave me a hug that felt like she was handling a fragile, possibly contaminated object. My dad just nodded at me from his armchair. "Celeste." And Leo, he was there. He looked different. Taller maybe, more confident, he was polite, that was the worst part. He wasn't angry or cold, he was just polite. "Hey, Celeste," he he said, the same way you'd greet a distant cousin you see once every 5 years. Good to see you. He took the pie from me and put it in the kitchen, and that was it. For the rest of the evening, he treated me like a guest, a stranger they had to be nice to. He'd answer my questions with short, non-committal answers and then turn his attention back to someone else. Dinner was agony. Every conversation felt like it was tiptoeing around a landmine, me. I tried to join in, to laugh at my uncle's bad jokes, but my voice felt foreign and loud. I was an intruder at my own family's table. Then, during dessert, my parents made their announcement. They did it together, like a well-rehearsed team. Dad cleared his throat. Well, everyone, your mother and I have some wonderful news. He reached over and squeezed Mom's hand. We've decided, after a lot of thought, that we're going to be taking care of all of Leo's university expenses. A murmur of approval went around the table. But then he continued, and his eyes flickered towards me for just a second. We've decided to use the funds we had set aside for Celeste's graduate school to make sure Leo has everything he needs. A fresh start. A positive, supportive environment without any financial burdens to worry about. The room was silent. I could feel every single person's eyes on me. The pie I had just eaten turned to acid in my stomach. The grad school fund. That was our plan. Mine and theirs. It was the promise, the reward for being the responsible one, the one who never caused any trouble. And just like that, it was gone. Given to him. I looked at Leo. I was expecting to see triumph or at least a little bit of smugness on his face, but there was nothing. He just stared down at his plate, slowly pushing crumbs around with his fork. He didn't look happy. He just looked gone. He had already left me, long before he ever got on that plane. In that moment, I finally understood. My stupid, petty, jealous comment hadn't just ruined a dinner. It had rewritten my family's future. I had tried to remind them that Leo wasn't perfect, and in doing so, I had proven that I was the flawed one, the broken one. I had lost more than my brother's trust, more than my parents' respect. I had lost my place. And watching my father smile at my brother, a smile that would never be for me again, I realized I was completely and utterly alone.